victims of a terrifying beast, dead and injured, and a curse that lasted 30 days of terror, immortalized in the history of a small village in Africa, in the most dangerous lands of the African continent, when a lion hid with his hunger for fresh human flesh. Unsatisfied with natural prey, his radar shifted towards weak humans in an area dominated by factions and political conflicts, reaching the forest that never knew peace, housing a naturally born hunter obsessed with killing, due to the loneliness he experienced and the hatred that made him willing to do anything to achieve his goal. This is the story of Lana, the cursed lion in the lands of South Sudan, who began his series of violent attacks in 1992, specifically in the area now known as Ruweng in South Sudan. Across the vast African savannas, full of diverse wildlife, predators head to the richest areas in prey and the safest, especially after random hunting practices that pushed lions and other beasts to move from one area to another. In Northeast Africa, extending to the vast lands of South Sudan, some animals became notably rare, those lands that are considered one of the most dangerous places in the African continent, where armed factions dominate many cities and commit numerous criminal acts due to extreme political conflicts that are part of the daily life of the residents in many villages of South Sudan. So crime and firearm possession are common even among minors. But in this place, despite all this crime, the greatest threat to many seems to be the appearance of a cursed lion, proving that the wrath of cats is worse than human greed and brutality, as shown by the presence of a lion that wreaked havoc in one of the administrative areas of South Sudan, now known as Ruweng, proud of its vast cattle farms. This area witnessed 30 days of a real nightmare, which began on the ominous date of November 12, 1992, when a group of women went to fetch water from the river, a daily task to secure the village's supply of drinking and washing water. At that time, there were not many lions in the area. It was rare to spot any, as hunting had killed most of them and destroyed their habitats, making it safe to go out without any fear of danger, and women did not mind walking alone sometimes if needed. However, the fateful day came when the group felt the wrath of a hungry lion on their way back to the village, surprised by the attack of this huge beast emerging from the bushes, then jumping directly onto one of their necks. In that moment, the lion dropped its prey immediately and violently. Most of these women had never seen a lion before. Even those who had seen a lion had never been so close. All the women panicked and fled quickly to the village, recounting what happened outside, and a group of hunters armed with sharp spears rushed to the river to try and hunt the lion, but it had already left the area with a belly full of meat, leaving only small parts of its prey. It was strange to see a lion in those lands, especially alone and very close to human activity areas. They usually live in male coalitions or large prides with females and cubs and avoid approaching human territories, but it seemed that this predator lion was working alone and his attacks had just begun. The men searched the area, but in vain. The killer lion had disappeared without leaving a trace. They believed it was a wandering lion, a mere accidental incident, and so the village continued its daily routine until the residents were shocked just 3 days later by a second attack. This time, the victims were 2 men near the river, where men usually gathered to fish. That evening, after the men finished their work, 2 of the fishermen stayed behind to fix their leaking boat. It was nighttime, and as the 2 men were late returning home, villagers suspected the lion had returned, but it was too dangerous to go after the beast, especially as it was pitch dark and the movements of the killer lion were unpredictable. The following day, everyone's suspicions were confirmed when they set off to search for the missing men, indeed finding their remains on the riverbank. The villagers decided it was time to seek help due to their lack of firearms to face this killer lion, fearing their spears might only anger the lion more. Given the danger of the area, only a few villagers could make their way to the nearest Loyalist forces base controlling the area, a one-day walking journey risking their lives to reach it. The lion had plenty of time to launch a new raid again. So the night after the villagers went out seeking help, the lion entered the village. Its steps were silent, its eyes watching the fearful residents in their homes, hoping for someone to come out, which indeed happened when one resident went out to the outdoor bathroom. The lion was quick and deadly, giving the poor man no chance to scream for help. All the residents discovered that night was a thick trail of blood leading to the forest. No one dared to chase the body because fear had settled in the hearts of the villagers, young and old. By that time, the lion was named Lana, which means the cursed in Swahili, as they claimed the lion was cursed due to living in isolation. This isolation increased his hatred and anger towards everyone who crossed his path. Rescue came when a faction of forces responded to the villagers' request to save them from the terrifying beast. However, instead of arming the village men, the faction sent armed men to hunt down the man-eater. During this time, the disappearance of an elder was linked to another deadly attack by the lion. When everyone arrived at the village, they learned about Lana's latest victim and decided to search the area to find him. The armed men acted like hunters, despite their lack of experience in this field. Although they had a vehicle at their disposal, the rough terrain prevented them from using it to search for the lion, and the fuel was only enough to return to the base after completing the mission.
So the men undertook the mission in the forest on foot, with alert eyes and high readiness. They could not find the hiding beast and had to return to the base. As a result, the men went out every day to search for the lion in some isolated areas of the village where a new deadly attack occurred. The village hunters no longer dared to venture into the forest, fearing an encounter with the terrifying Lana. Due to the people's reliance on the river for food and water, some men and women had to go to the farming and fishing area, while the children stayed with the elderly in the village. During this time, Lana mapped out the residents' movements from the river to the farming area. The great danger was the children staying with the elderly in the village, without the adult hunters scattered in the wild. Lana avoided the hunters for fear of being caught and started attacking different points from day to day. Lana's curse fell on the village, and no one dared to leave their huts at night at all. The search doubled to explore all new areas in hopes of reaching the phantom lion. Nevertheless, the hidden predator continued to devour meal after meal of all ages. Over weeks, Lana turned the villagers' lives into a nightmare without a way to arm some villagers with anything other than spears that were no longer effective, or even bring more men to hunt the beast. The only options were to wait for the lion's attack, who was extremely cautious about appearing publicly and revealing his hiding place. Fortunately, after 4 days of the departure of the support forces represented by the 2 armed men, they returned and brought back with them 3 more companions skilled in handling weapons, hoping to end the villagers' tragedy and eliminate Lana's nightmare. The 5 armed hunters split up for surveillance and waiting, ensuring one of them would be present if the lion appeared. On December 12, 1992, Lana struck again, but it was his last attack, which ended in the same place where the lion first attacked, near the river. The men began fishing, and they were in their boats in the middle of the river, while the hunter tasked with tracking the lion watched from afar, well prepared on the shore. When he saw Lana hiding among the tall plants, he aimed his weapon and fired without hesitation, but due to the long distance, he missed the lion. Instead of fleeing, Lana rushed towards the man at incredible speed to attack him. Lana pounced lightly and fiercely, biting the man's arm, who instinctively tried to prevent the lion from cutting his neck and protected himself from Lana's deadly fangs. During the struggle with the lion, he managed to fire again, but this time he hit the lion, causing Lana to fall immediately, ending 30 days of the curse that made the village live its worst times. Lana's body was enormous, bearing natural scars for a cat of his age, but there were no injuries on his body that justified his hatred and attack on humans instead of his natural prey. It is unknown why he was alone or what angered this animal against the village during that tough period. Finally, Lana's terrifying story ended after taking the lives of 16 people and was about to kill his 17th victim before the armed man managed to shoot him down, only suffering a severe deep wound in his arm, which became a bad memory from that killer lion.